Kabir Nath, thank you so much for taking the time with me today. I'm really excited to hear what you're working on at Otsuka. Let's just start high level. What are your big priorities right now? What's getting you really excited about your work in 2022?
Thanks very much, Logan, and it's a pleasure to chat and catch up again after a bit of time. So we remain, as we've always been, very focused on mental health and on the treatment of serious mental illness. And I think what's exciting is, as well as making progress on core pharmaceutical products, we actually did a collaboration with Sanovian last year that gets us access to what we think is a really exciting new mechanism. We're also continuing to explore how digital and technology can intersect with that. So we have a study ongoing with Click Therapeutic for a prescription digital therapeutic for the treatment of major depressive disorder. We hope to see data from that later this year, and that's going down a classic FDA regulated path.
Yeah.
But we're also starting to explore, are there other pathways for us to really get not just about the treatment of illness, but more into the treatment of mental health and really even more into wellness.
Yeah.
Because one thing to remember, Otsuka globally is a healthcare company, but we define healthcare broadly, including nutraceuticals, including energy drinks, including wine, which may be a little bit out of the ordinary.
Okay.
But we are a broad healthcare company, and there's a lot of interest from Japan and within the organization as to how we broaden the spectrum somewhat. So that's one area of excitement.
I think Otsuka is a bit of a pioneer with digital therapeutics, and so I wonder if you can just kind of help us understand the macro view of where we're at with digital therapeutics. It was more of it was early in the hype cycle a few years ago. We're bringing it through FDA cycles. So kind of where are we at now?
So I think where we're at is we're increasingly seeing evidence that these can work, but we clearly have continuing barriers around adoption, reimbursement, and so on. And there are, reimbursement is a very clear, critical one, and you'll be aware there's a lot of work among a number of companies in this space to look at that. But I think still this whole question of how technology gets adopted in some of the kind of the trickier and more siloed areas of our healthcare system continues to be a fundamental question. And how we build scale, because I believe for digital therapeutics it's not going to be just about the individual patient outcome. That's really important. But ultimately the real promise here with the richness of data is to do this at scale and start to understand at population level how we can actually intervene and actually improve outcomes for large numbers of patients.
Got it. I'm curious, you've got a large organization. How many folks work for Otsuka?
There are about 1,800 now.
1,800. How do you cultivate a culture of innovation within a large organization?
So I think we're lucky in a couple of ways. One, it's existed for a long time, and that's actually really important. And I think there are a few different ways of looking at it. While we're a large organization, relative to big pharma, we're a small organization. So we're very clear when we bring people in, if you come here expecting to be promoted in 2 years, that's not the way it goes. You come here for personal growth and development. You come here for the opportunity to bring ideas. You come here for the opportunity to actually step outside your job description and your role and to say, look, have we thought of this? And we really try and ensure that people are listened to at every level. I'm fond of saying good ideas are inversely correlated with your position in the hierarchy. The higher up you are, the less likely you are to come out with a risky idea or whatever, because you've got so much at stake. The lower down, you have much less at stake, and we have to find a way to listen. So I think we've, obviously it's not perfect, there's still process issues and so on, but we really have generated that culture, and that resonates with people.
Yeah. We're at an event here with a lot of healthcare startups, many of whom would love to have a partnership with a great pharmaceutical company like Otsuka. What are some of the attributes you look for in a great partnership?
So for me, it starts with purpose. So for Otsuka, our purpose is to defy limitations so that others can too, and there's a strong personal connection from me and many others, particularly with mental illness and so on. So, I'd want to know, what is somebody's purpose? Why have they founded this company? What's the deep emotional connection they have? Because I think without that, it's not going to be a strong partnership. But when you see that deep emotional connection, then you can work your way through the challenges and the difficulties and so on. But that is fundamental.
It's interesting to hear you say that, because often we think of having that emotional connection as being something that appeals to consumers, but that someone in your position would just care more about the numbers, that everything adds up on the back end. But you're saying that really, in terms of a solid partnership, that passion, that emotional connection is core.
And that's because for us as a pharmaceutical company, we are only successful if we care about the patients that we're treating, and look, obviously I'm paid to deliver revenue and so on, and that's really important. But the way I think about that is that allows us to invest in new opportunities, whether that's drugs or other things that actually have the potential to create outcomes. And I think if we don't have that emotional connection, it doesn't work.
So I asked you about innovation, but how do you cultivate that with an organization? You're the CEO of this group, and you want to operate in such a way that you're driven by the personal connection to the problem. That seems like a culture question. How do you cultivate that?
It absolutely is a culture question, and the way we do it is transparency, storytelling. So I will tell my personal story. We will encourage others to tell the stories. And we did a lot of work over the last couple of years of really distilling our purpose to come up with that we defy limitations so that others can too. And then we pull that through into how we think about what we do in the field of mental health and so on. So we believe that our purpose there is to realize the value of every mind. And that's how we think about it. And obviously there's a self-selection in process to some degree, and there's a self-selection process out to some degree as well, and that helps. But of course it's not perfect. It needs to be ongoing. And I think the other thing I keep on reminding people is culture is not extraneous. Culture is not something that comes from outside. It's not, nor does it come from me. Culture is the behaviors, above all, of leaders across the organization. So we spend a lot of time with our leadership group just working through that and reminding them of that.
Last question, what are you most excited about for Otsuka in 2022?
So I'm excited about the fact that we are continuing to advance an important portfolio of products. I'm excited about the results we're waiting for the phase 3. I'm excited about some of the work we're starting to look in psychedelics, trying to understand where that opportunity is. We've made a couple of investments in that space. So across the range, and above all, to continue to work with a great group of people to go on generating better outcomes for patients.
Awesome. Kabir, great to take this time to talk to you, hear your passion and interest in all the work that you're doing with Otsuka.
Thank you very much. Thanks,
all right.
Logan.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Be well.